so much at SiriusXM, we want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SiriusXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
SiriusXM. Run the clock stand-up, every style and taste.
The crowd thought I was doing it on purpose. They was like, oh!
All-time comedy breaks.
I think I just stumbled upon feminine again.
And new voices working the clubs today.
I don't even know what it feels like to not have some lady be like, I don't know if I would do that.
Plus, exclusive stand-up specials you can only hear on SiriusXM.
Shorty shorts, a half shirt, ball cap. Man, I was looking good at the flea market.
Don't miss a minute of the best stand-up. Search comedy on the SiriusXM app.
Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
2024 Republican National Convention is on SiriusXM with live in-person coverage from Megyn Kelly on Triumph.
Trump's winning in 5 out of the 6 swing states.
Hear Nathan Webb live at the RNC on Nation. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Julie Mason on POTUS, plus coverage on all your favorite news channels. The 2024 Republican National Convention is on SiriusXM.
There you go now.
I think I'm
Oh, let's see. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast.
Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports web, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me and people who love the universe, what a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! Fool, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I told you I was voted neighborhood spokesperson by the neighborhood, but some people don't like it when I give the announcements at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't blame them. What a beautiful Thursday, July 18, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sent you, where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord, he didn't split you too wide. I do see a lot of white splits running around Denver Hills, California. but you get what you get, and you stay happy with it. I do really appreciate that. Got some Republican and national convention tonight in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And also, of course, we got talk of reparations. And POTUS 45 is going to talk about reparations with J.D. Vance, how they want to pass reparations for all the black people that vote for him. If that makes sense to you. Or maybe I got that memo mixed up. They want to strike down the Department of Education. I think I got that wrong. Either way, it's not a joking matter. There are people who want to go on both sides of the fence. But I'm going to listen to a man who wrecked the buffet at the Herald Club when he said, go down to the Capitol and take our country back! And it was called the insurrection. And they went to the Capitol, they were singing, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. Well, Mike Pence decided he wanted nothing to do with this re-election campaign. He decided not to. I think 17 people in the first administration, they decided, no, I had enough. You ever have enough of something? Well, obviously, they got a lot of people that said they've had enough, and they don't want any more part of that. So I got some of that to come up with. Also, I do want to talk a little bit about what's going on in sports. NFL football is right around the corner in August, and there are some TV networks that are vying for opportunities to broadcast NFL football. It's not like the days of old. You could pick up you didn't even have remote controls. You could go to the TV. You had to stand up and walk across to the TV and press the on button or turn on the on button switch. And if you wanted to change the channel, you had to turn the knob. Well, those days are over. It went from there to cable, from satellite and then to cable, and now streaming. And now streaming is more popular for watching NFL football than any other source. That's the way it goes. They say, the great Janet Jackson said, that's the way love goes. And we know that's the way love goes. All fair and love and war. I want to say with Big C Sports Podcast, I want to give a special shout out to a pastor friend of mine that I met about 3 years ago, actually, in Denver Hills, California. And she's in Florida. Her name is Pastor Annette Parker and Safe Place Worship International. She's kind of a seer, a prophet. And some things that she prophesies over my life have actually come true. So I'm talking to her today. Prayers to you, and keep living, walking in by faith and not by sight. As you know, you were able to come through a lot of things that were going against you. And it's one thing when people say, "Oh, just pray about it," but when a pastor says pray about it, and they're going through it, I just want to give God some praise. Give God praise. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I wish you all the very best, and thank you for praying for a Big C Sports Podcast. I want to say I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. Isn't that amazing? I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. Runners on first and third. The count's full. The pitch curveball. Swung on. Hit deep. Left field. Back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love seeing the girls love the long ball. And men love to hit deep. I love doing that with Big C Sports Podcast. There's a lot going on in life where you just want to make sure that you do your part to help the young people. And the old people too. But there's times in life where people go through things, and I really appreciate Pastor Annette Parker and the faith that she's had to come through what she was dealing with. A lot of people got to come through things too. And, I'm just so grateful about a lot of things. I do want to say I always upload the show. It goes out to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City, and they're streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the days of Salem Media. And now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. We have people who miss practice, and I do really appreciate bringing you a Big C Sports Podcast. I also want to say I love paying homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and they do a good job helping our veterans. It's one thing to say we thank you for your service. Someone gave me a hat today that said, God bless America. And I wore it on my head. And people looked at me like, why are you wearing a hat that said, God bless America? Well, that's where I live. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her as they're going to announce reparations tonight at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They say that the party of Lincoln will let them pay homage to Lincoln. I'm sure they'll announce their plan for reparations for 2024, if that makes sense to you. For the Veterans Crisis Hotline, I want to say if you know anybody going through issues they really are experiencing, helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's always good when somebody's leaning back. And I think they really do a great job of helping people. They know our mind is a terrible thing to waste. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. You know, I was thinking and talking with my pastor friend today, and there's a verse in the Bible. It's called Matthew 17:20. In the King James Version, it says, and Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be cast into the sea, and shall not doubt, and shall believe that believe, and believe that it shall be done. And it says, it will be done unto you. May lightning strike. Imagine if those words came true every time we talk about faith and my biblical friends. And we believe in the Bible, and I quote the Bible all the time. I grew up with it. It's a book that's full of mysteries and things that you want to, maybe it's hard to believe at times. But there are times when things happen in our lives that we give praise to the Ancient of Days, the Alpha, the Omega, Jehovah, God, whatever you call it. But imagine if it came true. Matthew 17:20. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed. How small is a mustard seed? It has to be smaller than a golf ball. It has to be smaller than a football. It has to be smaller than a baseball. It has to be smaller than a basketball. But we play with balls all the time. What if we found the size of the grain of a mustard seed and we had that faith? Are you really meaning that we could move mountains? I saw that in the book, and I thought, I was talking to my pastor, we talked about that verse today. The size of a mustard seed. Imagine if that were 100% accurate. A lot of us would have our dreams come true. If all it took was faith, we got to have some work behind it too, but it didn't say work behind it. It said, and Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. And then we as humans, we want to add our, oh yeah, but also, yeah, but. And then it says in another version, and he said unto them, because of your little faith, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. That's an amplified version that says, he answered, because of your little faith, your lack of trust and confidence in the power of God. For I assure you, and most solemnly say to you, if you have living faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say unto this mountain, remove from here to there, and if it's God's will, it will move, and nothing will be impossible unto you. Imagine that. But imagine at the same time if people believe that and it doesn't happen. That's where people have doubt. I'm even speaking for myself. There's some things I've been asking God for a long time. And I wonder if it's because of my unbelief. It's not because of my unbelief, because I speak it into existence. The brain doesn't know the difference between what you say and what you believe. If you say it, then it comes true. There's a lot of times football players, before the game, they go, touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, he's going all the way. They're chatting and praying and jumping up and down before they even take the field. And they're chanting, and they're slapping their heads, they're slapping their backs, their hands together, their thighs. They slap at the back of their teammate, and they jump up and down, especially football players, sometimes even button helmets together. And because they get hyped up, I've seen boxers when they get into the ring, sometimes they punch themselves. So you know you ain't got a chance to get something if he beat himself up. The late Richard Pryor talked about that. He is in the ring beating himself up. I know I don't have a chance. But psyching ourselves up to get what we want. But I was talking about Pastor today, and we went over Matthew 17:20 and talked about what God said. He said to them, because of the littleness of your faith, that is your lack of firmly relying and trust. For truly I say to you, if you have faith that is living like a grain of mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to yonder place, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. It's amazing. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Isn't that something? There's so many more facets of it that we can go and read, and then people can have their own belief. But I just want to bring that into today's show because I talked to Pastor Annette Parker about having faith for things that we want to see in our lives and speak it as if it's already existed. We got to speak things that be not as though they were. Well, I love doing that with Basic Sports Podcast. That's my story, and I take it with it. But I also want to say I just appreciate that, Pastor, you pulled through. I'm not going to get into what you pulled through from. That's because you didn't tell me to. But you did say to give out a little shout out to you. And I wanted to give not only a shout out to you, I want to put that out there in the word because faith is real. And I know there are things in my life that I want to happen right now. And sometimes God shows up. And sometimes God put it out there before we even having to ask a lot for it. But there's a lot of times in life, if you spend enough time around the wrong person, they can make you doubt everything you're trying to do. That's why oftentimes what you want to do, don't tell people about it. Just do it. Just do it. You can't tell everybody everything you want to be because not everybody believes in you. Not everybody wants you to have what you want. But the person you got to talk to, in my belief, I'm talking to the person that made me. You mean your mom and dad? No, I'm talking about the Heavenly Father, that Spirit, that Ancient of Days. The same power that makes the earth spin around on its axis, that makes the moon and the stars appear, that creates day and night. You can plant a mustard seed in the ground, and it can grow when you put water and sunshine on it. Of all the moons and stars all throughout the heavens, in fact, all throughout the universe, someone put it there. How did we get here? But then it goes to biblical teaching, and Pastor, I was saying, because of you, many things you prophesied on me, they've come true. I didn't even know they were going to come true. As you know, when I met you, I was kind of in a spot in life that it didn't feel comfortable. A lot of things were like turning against me. And I just want to say thank you for your prayers and telling me keep pressing forward. And I thank you for that. And as you went through your own journey and trials, you press forward. Everybody's got to press forward. We all know everybody needs something in life. But I want to say this before I get into my commercial. because we've heard it in so many different ways. And God says to them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say to this mountain, be transported hence there, and it shall transport itself, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Can you imagine if it was that simple? If it was that simple, everything in life that we want can be here. That's so powerful. And the one says to them, because of your little faith, for verily I say to you, if you have faith like a seed of mustard plant, you will say to this mountain, pass from here to there, and it will pass, and nothing will be impossible for you. That's impressive. It says Jesus answered, you are not able to make the demon go out because your faith is too small. Believe me when I tell you, if your faith is only as big as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. And you will be able to do anything. I think that's so powerful. Imagine when it actually happens. So be careful what you say, because what we say, if we're asking for the help of God, according to Scripture, then it may just happen. So what are we asking for? That's powerful when you think about it. So, Pastor, I take your message for that, and I appreciate it. There's a lot of things that Big C Sports is doing. I need God's favor. I'm not asking any man or woman to do anything for me. I'm asking the Ancient of Days. I'm not asking any man or woman to do anything. I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking God. That same God that spared my life so many times. I was 8 years old. I was shot by a bullet right in the head. And before it happened, my grandmother, who had already been in heaven, she said, get away. And I heard her the same way you hear me. And I know I listened because I got away. I went about 20 feet behind the building. And I got hit anyway, because I did not get away all the way. But she spoke to me. And she was already in heaven. I was 8 years old. God let that happen, but it spared my life. And as many times I've called on her, she's warned me about people and situations that I've been able to walk away from before they happen. My mother has that same ability to speak to me about people and even about myself. And sometimes I don't want to listen, or sometimes I say, Mama told me that. And I just want to give God praise for that, because we all need that voice inside of us that we listen to. You got to know who's on your team and who's not on your team. And not everybody that professes to be on your team is really on your team. But my team is God. I'm always going to ask God and give God praise, because I want to have that faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. Well, Pastor, I told you I would dedicate my show, the first part of my show, to you, and I mean that. And I thank you for praying for me. I thank you for praying for healing and health and wealth and prosperity and wisdom. I just want to say thank you for that. I know this show is a little bit different, but all my shows are different, because somebody needs to hear this. Everybody's going through something. But imagine if we have the faith of the size of the grain of a mustard seed, then everything we want is already done. We just got to stop looking with our eyes and start looking with our faith. And I'm speaking to myself, because there's a lot of things that my mind's telling me no, but my faith is telling me yes. We can't always go by what we see, because the eyesight can be deceptive. Eyesight can be very deceptive. But in your gut, that's where God speaks to me. And I trust it. Sometimes I haven't always listened to it, but as I get more and more wise, I learn to trust it. I just keep asking God to bring to me what's mine. My good will come to me. And so, Pastor, in talking with you today, and how a couple of months ago, you were having your own challenges. I'm not going to say what they were, but I remember praying, and now here you are, you pulled through. And everybody's going through something. A lot of times we think we're by ourselves at times. We expect people to come through and rescue us, but it's the Ancient of Days, that power of faith. That same faith that let us breathe our first breath as we're born into this world. And we gotta, I'm just calling on that because I know people going through things right now. And I just want to keep asking God for a favor for people that I love, and even people that I love, and maybe they don't even believe in God the same way I do. And I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm just saying what I call on when things are going in my life where I need to pick me up. I need to pick me up. And I count on God. I don't count on people. I don't put my faith in people. I don't put my hope in people. My salvation is not in people. I put it in God. That's my choice. That's my choice. And I just thank God for everything that I believe in and helping me stay healthy. I've been going through my own health issues the last 2 weeks. Feeling nauseous and lightheaded. Even a little bit worried. Pretending I wasn't worried, but I went to the doctor twice. And I got my blood work. And it says my numbers are good. My numbers are good, but I've been dealing with a little bit of heat stroke. And I know I push through it. Sometimes it makes me nauseous. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit lightheaded. But I pretend I'm okay. I am okay. But I'm fighting through it. It doesn't mean you just lay in bed all day. I can't do that. But I'm so grateful to God for that. And Pastor, I'm so grateful to you that you were able to pull through. And I just pray for everything we prayed about today. You know what I'm talking about. That 9-series DNA! I thank you for that. I thank God for it. I thank God Almighty for so many things. I'm so grateful for it. Grateful to God! In God we trust. Well, that's my story. And I'm sticking with it. And then we go to church and see how you do your Bixie's Boy Show. Well, I'm doing both. I gotta tell you, I got a commercial that I've been working on. And I told my pastor about it. And sometimes when you think about things that you want to do, you just do them. I'm going to pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force, and I'm going to talk about some things that are important to me. But I got a commercial that I'm working on, and I even shared this with my pastor because I want to build teams in Florida. Now, Pastor, you're in Florida, and also in North Carolina. You have churches back there, and I want your help because elderly people, we all going to get old someday, God's willing. My commercial is we have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth, Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of Attorney George Jones. The missing link is called Long-Term Care, Solutions by the Book, over 3 decades of experience in helping seniors get their benefits. Pastor, listen up, tell this to the church. Tell it from the mouth to top. Helping seniors get their benefits. In California, it's called Medicare, and you taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. Other places, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. Find out your options. Our promise to you, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. Our promise to you to specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits. You know what I'm talking about, Pastor. We got to spread the word. Specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits. Protection of your assets without the spend down. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. Ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. Have you ever known anyone to deal with skilled nursing facilities? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical prescriptions? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical equipment costs? And more. Not only that, protection of your assets. Have you ever known anyone that refused to protect their assets and they end up in probate? Protection of your assets, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family, avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. And if you don't have a will, they will have one for you and you won't like it. That's why we tell you with the RDC team, put together that trust in the will included. Estate recovery program, we take care of that. Don't let the government take all your assets, if that makes sense to you. It's like the movie Star Trek and Star Wars. The Starship Enterprise was on a 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new frontiers, and to boldly go where no man had gone before. And they did it at warp speed. And they ran across the Death Star with Darth Vader And Darth Vader had the Death Star as a black planet, and it can destroy planets. He was always looking to destroy somebody's assets. And he came up on the USS Starship Enterprise, and he said, I want to take that Starship Enterprise. And Captain Kirk read his mind. He said, Scotty, raise the shields. And Scotty said, why, Captain? It's only a dark planet. He said, Scotty, are the audio Vulcan mine? He said, raise the shields. He said, well, I'm not up at the bridge right now. Spock's at the bridge. He said, Spock, raise the shields. And Spock said, why, Captain? It's only a black planet. He said, Spock, are the audio Vulcan mine? Raise the shields. And they raised the shields before Darth Vader said, fire up. And they got out of stars. And they lightning strike. They went into warp speed. Well, if you don't have a trust, it's like the Death Star coming after your assets, if that makes sense. You got to raise the shields called the trust. Everyone in the church and all those pastors Pastor, they got to have a trust. We can do it with the RDC team. A one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. That's important, Pastor. But I'm not done yet. Asset protection. What does it protect? Insurance coverage required by a law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care. Avoid probate. We have life insurance policies, veterans benefits, aid, and attendance. Pre-planning to avoid the look-back period in California. The trust protects your fixed assets, your bank account, your checking accounts, your savings accounts, your money market accounts, your certificates of deposit, your life insurance with cash values, your fixed index annuities. Your variable assets are protected. Real estate, qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. You can avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. Let's say a year later that house appreciates to $1 million. Well, that's a $900,000 capital gains. You avoid that when your property's in a trust. We have over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners. Attention clergy. Attention business owners. Attention clergy. Pastor, help me spread the word. Find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. But not only that, when people say, well, why would we trust you when my friend, he also prepares trust? Why would I trust Big C when my friend, he also prepares insurance policies? Well, ask them who they have to endorse what they're doing. Our endorsements are pretty big. We have the late James Gomez, who advised 4 governors in California and led change in California nursing homes. Also served on Golden One's board of directors. The late Jim Gomez, Sacramento, California, USA. California Association of Health Facilities. 21 years. He endorsed the RDC team. That's important. When we have those kind of endorsements, you got to know it's important. And that's what I say, you got to trust the RDC team. It's important. I want to make sure that I get that information out there. I want to say not only that, we have George Jones, Attorney George Jones. He's the chair of the California Black Chamber of Commerce, also California Black Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We have Mr. Leon Woods, Resource Development Consulting, works with many of the top lobbyists in California. But not only that, we have Ms. Cheryl Brown, the chair of the California Commission on Aging. We have Mr. Ray De La Cruz, the president and CEO of RDC, had the endorsement of the late Robert Carlson, the top legal mind of CalPERS. We have Mr. Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veteran Benefits. Not only that, we have Charlton Curry, co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, also business development consultant for RDC and owner of Big C Sports Podcast. I endorse the RDC team. Not only that, we have Double O. She's on the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, also consultant for the RDC team. Has her own economics and wellness talk show called Let's Eat. She endorses the RDC team. Like I say what Jesus said, if you have the faith of a side of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624. And when you do, you want to give it some praise. I say give it praise. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love doing that with Big C Sports Podcast. I also want to say, in honor of the California Reparations Task Force, because of mine, it's a terrible thing to waste. And I know people have their own beliefs about what they should put their heart, mind, body, and soul into. And I know that. And like I believe tonight at the Republican National Convention, they're going to do something that's going to shock a lot of people. What are they going to do, Big C? They're going to announce the support of reparations for descendants of child slavery, just like the Just Act created reparations for descendants of Holocaust. They're going to announce it. It was put together by the United States Department of Justice, Congress, and the German government for Holocaust descendants. The Homestead Act of 1862, it gave over 300 million acres of land to white Americans and white Europeans. They told black Americans, no, but we want your vote. They're going to announce reparations tonight at the Republican National Convention. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And I know you know it's true. But I want to do one more story that's bigger than that. I want to pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force because of mine is a terrible thing to waste. Now, I put in a call to Camila Moore. I haven't heard it back yet, but I believe I'll hear back from her sometime soon this month. And I would love to have her on Big C Sports Podcast talking about what happened tonight at the RNC and their push for reparations that may shock the world. It's important because they want the black vote, but they gotta put it in writing before just asking for the vote, if that makes sense to you. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force. I want to give praise to the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber. She's the Secretary of the State of California. She worked with the California Governor Gavin Newsom, who helped mandate the California Reparations Task Force. I love giving them praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Camila Moore, who photobombed my picture a couple of times. So you said you come on my program. I want to get you on the program, if that makes sense to you. She's a lawyer that specializes in reparative justice, and I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Amy C. Brown, who's already appeared on the Big C Sports Podcast, Camila Moore. That's a clue. He also supports reparations. He's the president of the San Francisco chapter of the NAACP. He was on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to give him praise. I'm going to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. Met him several times at reparations meetings and also several times in his office. He was responsible for name, image, and likeness that helps college student athletes get paid. I love giving him praise. He also helped put together the Ebony Alert that helps African-American children get the same type of money and resources behind them from law enforcement that the Amber Alert puts into finding missing white children. I love giving Senator Bradford praise. He's also a great speaker for the California Reparations Task Force. He's like Moses in Exodus. When God told Moses, he said, go down into Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And Moses said, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And so Moses went down in there and he gave a speech. And Senator Bradford did the same thing in front of the California State Senate and the California State Legislature. When God told Senator Bradford, he said, go down there to the California State Senate and the California State Legislature and tell them to pass reparations. And Senator Bradford said, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And so Bradford, that's what he's doing. And I believe Trump is going to give that same speech tonight at the Republican National Convention. I love giving Senator Bradford praise. He's a good man. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Step. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She's an attorney that specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So she's anti-Project 2025. If that makes sense to you, I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, also a professor at California, Berkeley. I love giving him praise. I also want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. And as a Japanese American, his family received reparations. I want to make sure I give them all praise. Give them all praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, I want to say, Pastor, I was dedicating that to you, and I really do appreciate you. I want to give a shout out to a show called Wangong. It's hosted by Tim and Marvell, and I heard a word today that they were talking about, and I want to make sure it's about faith and having more faith in things that we can all do to make sure we have our dreams come true. And when I read today Matthew 17:20 about the faith of a mustard seed, we got to have the faith of a mustard seed in our lives for a lot of things to come true. And I want to make sure with Big C Sports Podcast, I do that. I love sharing that message. It's important. So I got to get in to some sports because it's something that's important to me. Financed by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund and offering outrageous purses called LIV. It is pronounced LIV as Live Free, and it's not an acronym. The name was created for two reasons. Roman numerals, LIV equals 54, like 9 series DNA. And I'm also looking for that opportunity to get some sponsorship from LIV, from Saudi Arabia, for Big C Sports Podcast. Oh, Big C, you think it's too big. No, I have the faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed. Using Matthew 17:20. It's important. People say, oh, that's not going to happen. I don't talk to those people. But after LIV forced a PGA partnership, could Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, target the NFL for ownership? Golf's big news was also big news in America's most popular sports league, the NFL. If the Saudis want to bring sports watching to the NFL, it may work. The NFL is a $15 billion enterprise, like the USS Starship Enterprise, on a 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new lives and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man has gone before. Welcome to Big C Sports Podcast. So when the PGA Tour's partnership, and Pastor, I want your prayers over this, they partnered with LIV Golf, was announced June 6th. It did not take long for the news to spread throughout the NFL hallways. A multitude of franchises filled with golf-obsessed coaches, players, and staffers were in some phase of their offseason program when the word broke, with many in the NFL having ties to elements of the PGA. And through the friends and players on the tour, it sent some individuals to their phones or televisions in disbelief. And Jesus said, because of your unbelief, you can't move mountains. I have belief. It was immediately out on the practice fields that one AFC suite executive told a sports company, I heard it in the hallway, and by the time I was outside, the guys were already talking about it. I can't remember the last time it happened. I don't know how we would have handled it if Saudi Arabia wanted a piece of the NFL, the National Football League. And they want a piece of it. And Big C Sports want a piece of that Saudi Arabia money. I'm only asking for $1 billion. I think that's enough to get a full tank of gas in California. You think about it. It's so important. It's so important that we ask things. You have not because you ask not. And I think back to the conversation, franchise owners or maybe front runners of the timing with the Washington Commanders sale finalizing and the Seattle Seahawks coming up. For a league that prohibits foreign ownership of its franchises, the odds of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, or what they call PIF, or any sovereign wealth fund acquiring an NFL stake remains extremely slim. Well, they said the same thing about golf. And when they offer golfers more money with one check than they made in their whole lifetime, money changes things. It didn't take a lot of faith to say, okay, I'll take the $200 million. But a handful of high-ranking teams, executives who spoke with a sports company following LIV and PGA partnership, they shared a similar opinion about the NFL's future and how it can be impacted by foreign wealth. You got to realize that sometimes along the lines of never say never, but probably never. Golf said the same thing. And now when that $1 billion hits their bank account, it changes things. As one NFL team president put it, the fact that the PGA could not sweat out LIV for a year is probably bad. But another high-ranking executive was far more blunt. He said the PGA was weak and they were talking tough, but now they folded in such a short time span, says everything. The only way any part of the NFL will ever be owned in a sovereign wealth situation is if the league changes its mind and invites that money in. Haven't they already invited in the gaming community? There was a time when the NFL said, we'll not tolerate the gaming industry. Remember that? And now they're in bed with the gaming industry. And never say never. If the league changes its mind and the Saudi investment fund offers the NFL $50 billion, I'm sure they'll say, well, what account you want to put the money in? It's $15 billion now. If they do to the NFL, so we're going to give you $50 billion for some rights to own part of the NFL. I'm sure they'll say, we say yes. That money talks. And maybe if that happens, the NFL isn't going to be bullied into it. The closest thing we have to distressed assets right now is going to sell for more than $6 billion. And that's after, NFL teams are selling for about $6 billion now. What if Saudi came in and said, here's $50 billion, we want to buy some of the teams, or at least sponsor some of the teams? think about that. Lawsuits included, investigations included. We're not exactly operating from a position of weakness in any scenario. It's not that far-fetched. The Oakland Raiders, they moved out of Oakland to go to Las Vegas because of $2 billion. Two? I guess that's how you were raised. And they just like a statement about that when he limited that statement in a comedy skit. At the same time, it's a fair argument. If the NFL cannot see around the corners, and we get to know all of the stacks, how it stacks up, the relevancy of the league in the 2023 U.S. Open, it tees off Thursday, and players from both sides of the PGA and the LIV split merged in one of the greatest, I guess they called it a scandal at first. They didn't want to take money from a country that had human rights violations. What was slavery called? Was that a human rights violation? I said, what was slavery called? Sounds like a human rights violation to me. And they still found a way to fix it. I don't think that Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth brings to the table money that's not enough for NFL owners to, you know what, maybe $50 billion is a lot of money. Because money changes things. They don't need a lot of faith of the size of the grain of a mustard seed. But I think that LIV money is going to show up on the NFL front door. Let me ask you a question. If someone offered you $50 billion, would you at least sit down at the table? Would you at least have that conversation? If somebody offered you $50 billion, would you have the conversation? And you know the answer is yes. And that's coming to the NFL. Because the NFL is playing games in Europe. They're playing games in Mexico. They've even played exhibition games in Canada. And eventually they're going to play on the African continent. That's where most of the players' ancestry come from anyway. Imagine the NFL. Mostly African Americans, 75%. They go to Europe. They go to Mexico. They even played in Canada. But the continent that has most of their players' ancestry, Africa, they've avoided it. Think about that. Things change though. So Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth brings to the table what supporters and detractors say is driving it. Not to mention what it is realistically capable of, whether the NFL is ready to invite it in or not. $50 billion talks. No matter what people say, if they sit down and they say we want to contribute $50 billion to the NFL, I think they'll have some open ears. They will. It doesn't take a lot of faith to listen to a person or a government that's offering you $50 billion to be a part of your league. Well, that's my story that I'm sticking with it. And just when people say, oh, Big C, that's not possible. Well, NFL games in 2024 will be broadcast across 10 networks and platforms. 10! But viewers keep watching. It's no longer like the NFL on CBS or on Fox or NBC. Now they have Fox, they have CBS Sports, they have NBC Sports Peacock, NFL Network, they have ESPN, they have another network like Netflix, they have Prime Video, they have a Peacock Network, ESPN Plus, ABC, for the 2000, and hopefully Big C Sports will be carrying more NFL shows. Wouldn't that be something that the Big C Sports, you're watching the NFL on Big C Sports? I say yes! We're letting it strike! For the 2024 season, the NFL season, the games will be broadcast and streamed across 10 different networks and platforms. That's great for the NFL's revenue, but the fragmented distribution is bad for fans. The NFL can get away with this since in 2023, NFL programming accounted for 93 of the highest 100 rated shows on television. May lightning strike! The NFL programming accounted for 93 of the 100 highest rated shows on TV. Adding 2 games on Netflix this year allows the NFL to grow its audience. With Netflix, that deal being the first that allows for global distribution with no blackout restrictions, you got to realize that's powerful. Imagine Big C Sports carrying NFL football. All it takes is that $1 billion I'm asking for the Saudi government. You know how the white banks gave white people the homestead money in the land, and they told black Americans no? They even told white Europeans yes. You You got to open your horizons, expand your horizons. Pastor, you know what I've been praying for? Amazon Prime Video, 16 games, all streaming exclusively. Peacock, 1 game streaming exclusively. ESPN Plus, 1 game streaming exclusively. Netflix, 2 games streaming exclusively. NFL Network, 4 games. All games also on NFL Plus. NBC, 17 games. All games are also on Peacock. Fox, at least 100 games. Week 18 schedule still to be determined. All streaming via Fox Sports. CBS, at least 100 games. Week 18 still to be determined. All games streaming via Paramount. ESPN, ABC, 21 games. All games streaming via ESPN or ABC. One could suggest that YouTube TV could also be added to the deal, since the deal is direct with the NFL, whereas games on Fubo and Hulu Live TV are deals that have to do with broadcast networks. Imagine Big C Sports Podcast carrying NFL. Don't say it's not possible. Anything's possible. All I need is the faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed. Because I've been doing my NFL work for a long time. I started with the NFL on Fox Sports, back with John Madden, the late John Madden, and the late Pat Summerall. I remember being there in the press box when the 49ers beat the Green Bay Packers. It was Owens, 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 Owens. When Steve Young would drop back the pass and hit Owens at the goal line, and they won that playoff game. I was there. A lot of things can happen in life because God opened that door then and God's opening the doors now. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I think about, in a CNBC interview, Ryan Rollout, NFL's chief media and business officer, was asked how he addresses concerns that the market is too fragmented and that it's too hard to find games. As expected, he said he doesn't think it's too fragmented. The NFL, every game we have is on broadcast television in the local markets. While it's technically accurate, it requires an antenna to get over the air called OTA signal, and you cannot pause or rewind an OTA signal without playing for a DVR. They're expanding the technology. And with AI stepping into the television, you can't tell me they can't figure out a way to get some of that Saudi Arabian money. There's no fragmentation due to OTA availability. It's a poor argument. Fans have to go out and buy additional equipment to get the broadcast. And they're doing it. I told you 93 of the top 100 TV shows were NFL football games in the United States. And then watching an NFL game via OTA is not the same experience as viewing the game via cable or satellite. It's not the same as being in the stadium. Sometimes being in the stadium is not the same as being able to sit in front of a big TV and watch it. So unless viewership declines or stays flat over the next year or two, the NFL can continue to put revenue over the fan experience, as frustrated fans are with today's sporting views. The NFL has no incentive to change its fragmented distribution. As long as fans continue to watch games, no matter how complex the NFL makes it. I think LIV money is going to hit the NFL soon, the same way it hit LIV golf. There's no way that they're going to turn away that much money. They're not going to turn it away. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want you to hear one of the greatest speakers in the history of the universe when it comes to reparations. Think about that for the Republican National Convention tonight.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, They provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
And that is a preview of tonight's Republican National Convention speech. They're going to play it as POTUS 45 is going to speak to the United States of America about what Dr. King said. And that's my story. And I'm sticking with it. And you don't want to miss it. It's going to be the surprise speech, if that makes sense to you. Well, I want to tell you, Pastor Annette, may God continue to give you that faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed, and maybe continue to share that message with people all over the universe. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big City Sports Show, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you've saved may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you, or somebody that somebody else loves. If that makes sense to you, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, I always pay homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents called Mama and Pop. They were wonderful, beautiful people. Pop was a former Negro League baseball player, and Mama was just a great, great, loving woman. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And my grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, they were beautiful, loving people. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. They were seers. They could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. Then I could always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Running a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. Dear mama, you know I have the faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. I thank you, mama. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then on my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. I was 8 years old walking through the hallway. About 10 o'clock at night, I felt someone touch me in my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies?" I said, What are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies?" I said, "Cookies and baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt because it's been a long wait. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak," and now I'm on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms because I have faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. May lightning strike. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. Always saying I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. He was a racist reader, always saying go forward. In fact, he would say go forward and don't look back because you don't have much backside back there. I said, I love my backside, Todd. I love my backside. Our favorite movie was Pulp Fiction. It was like the scene with Ben Rames and Bruce Willis that had Samuel Jackson and John Travolta as well. But there's a scene before the big fight, the boxing scene. He said Bruce Willis was sitting there talking to Marcellus Wallace. And Marcellus said, he said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. He said, say that. And Bruce Willis said, my butt goes down in the 5th round. He said, a lot of boxers are filled with a lot of unrealistic expectations. A lot of these mother bluckers, they think the butt gets better like fine wine, but it don't. If they mean in terms of vinegar, then it do. He said, you're going to be thanking Uncle Marcellus after you chilling in the Bahamas. So take this money and your butt goes down in the 5th round. He said, that stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride loving with you. And he told him what Star Trek Captain Kirk told Darth Vader when he tried to take the USS Starship Enterprise. He said, blood pride. He said, pride only hurts and never helps. Well, that's my my story, and I'm sticking with it. But Pulp Fiction, one of my favorite movies, Todd. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter, Daisy. The most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17. That no weapon formed against you will prosper. Matthew 17:20. Have the faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. Daisy said at the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast, back in the days of Salem Media, it became the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men in the crew started doing that thing. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always, always have that faith, the size of the grain of a mustard seed. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, very not a good man. Malcolm always trusts God. Always Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Always have faith, the size of a grain of a mustard seed. And Matthew 17:20. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper and look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast for players and teams. One day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since, now on 29 podcast platforms. One day Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. Now it's streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And I plan on doing big things with the NFL this year with Big C Sports. That's my story, and I'm taking with it. Pastor, thank you for the prayers, and tell me how that's coming true. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn with the church buddies always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love to say welcome to the show. It's been nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no script. I have no cerebral teleprompters. All I have is this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. And that's how they say you talk to God. And that's why I scream so loud, because I want God to hear me. I want God to hear me. Me let me strike. I have the faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I love having that story and sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, that's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that crap. You need more LEADER in your life. LEADER is an acronym for love is the answer. If someone's smacking you, I only smack you because you make me mad. Call 911. If someone's kicking you, I only kicked you because you made me mad. Call 911. If somebody's choking you out, I only choked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone, call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that crap. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. We're back by a popular man. I always tell you, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to chap of reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. There was no fighter greater than Muhammad Ali. You know, that's so important when I say how great Muhammad Ali was. He was a man of faith. He kept speaking things into existence, and then they happened. And that's what I happened about Big C Sports Podcast. But as I always say, I love doing every show paying homage to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and America's 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! You're going to hear them say this tonight at the Republican National Convention. Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! Let's say it again because you're going to hear it loud at the Republican National Convention. Reparations at last! Reparations at last! Thank God Almighty! Reparations at last! I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.